my goodness, folks, I have some absolutely explosive information about a constitutional crisis that's rocking the British monarchy to its core. Prince Harry faces his most devastating blow yet, as Parliament is reportedly fast-tracking legislation to formally strip him of all his royal titles. And the most shocking part? King Charles is supporting the move against his own son. Now, I know you guys are excited for more. But before we delve into further discussion, if you haven't subscribed, come on guys, what are you waiting for? Hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell ASAP. So now, this isn't just another royal family squabble, my friends. This represents a historic, unprecedented move that fundamentally changes the relationship between the monarchy, parliament, and the British people. For the first time in modern history, we're seeing legislative action to forcibly remove titles from a royal by birth with the monarch's approval. The proposed legislation aims to remove Harry's prestigious Duke of Sussex title, along with all remaining royal designations, effectively reducing him to commoner status. This extraordinary measure is being rushed through Parliament, particularly the House of Lords, where senior peers have expressed grave concerns that Harry's actions have significantly damaged the monarchy's reputation. What makes this situation particularly explosive is the timing. Harry is scheduled to return to the UK on September 8th for the Wellchild Awards, a date that coincides with the anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's death. Can you imagine the absolute drama of Harry potentially arriving in Britain as a commoner, stripped of his titles, on the very day the nation mourns his grandmother? The reasons behind this drastic action are painfully clear. Parliament and the palace have finally reached their breaking point with Harry's perceived exploitation of his royal status. Critics argue that he has monetized his titles through Netflix deals, tell-all memoirs, and commercial ventures, while simultaneously attacking the very institution that bestowed those honors upon him. King Charles's decision to support these measures represents a complete and total abandonment of his son in favor of protecting the monarchy. This move signals that Charles has given up any hope of reconciliation and is now prioritizing the institution's long-term survival over family loyalty. For a father to take such drastic steps against his own son speaks volumes about how severely damaged their relationship has become. The constitutional implications of this decision are staggering. It establishes the precedent that royal titles are privileges, not birthrights, and that they can be revoked if the holder engages in conduct deemed detrimental to the monarchy. This fundamentally reshapes our understanding of the British royal family and sends a chilling message to its remaining members. No one is above accountability. What's particularly fascinating about this development is how dramatically public opinion has shifted against Harry. Poll after poll shows a significant decline in his popularity, with a majority of Britons now supporting the removal of his titles. He's increasingly viewed as a divisive figure who betrayed his family and exploited his royal status for personal gain. The absence of Meghan Markle from Harry's upcoming UK trip further fuels speculation about their increasingly precarious position. Her decision not to accompany him reinforces the perception that the rift between Harry and the royal family remains unbridgeable. It also raises serious questions about the long-term viability of the Sussex brand, which has been increasingly tarnished by accusations of hypocrisy and self-interest. Legal experts suggest that this parliamentary action could have far-reaching consequences for Harry's financial future. Without his royal titles, his marketability and commercial appeal could plummet, potentially jeopardizing his lucrative deals with Netflix and other partners who signed him specifically for his royal connections. This could trigger a catastrophic financial crisis for the Sussexes, who have built their entire post-royal business model on Harry's princely status. The historical context makes this situation even more dramatic. The British monarchy has evolved over centuries, adapting to changing political and social landscapes. But Harry's case represents a unique challenge, the first time in modern history that a royal has so openly rejected the institution's values while simultaneously profiting from its prestige. The monarchy now faces an existential question: how to maintain its relevance while enforcing accountability from within its ranks. What's particularly ironic about Harry's predicament is that he once championed himself as a modernizing force within the monarchy. He positioned himself as the relatable, down-to-earth prince who would bridge the gap between the royal family and ordinary citizens. Now, he finds himself increasingly isolated, with his credibility in tatters and his royal identity on the verge of being legally erased. The legal battles that preceded this dramatic development only exacerbated Harry's fall from grace. His attempts to secure special security arrangements in the UK funded by British taxpayers were repeatedly rejected by the courts, delivering a series of humiliating defeats that were widely interpreted as a rebuke to his sense of entitlement. These legal failures emboldened his critics and paved the way for the current parliamentary action. For King Charles, this crisis represents his first major test as monarch. He faces the daunting task of modernizing the institution while preserving its traditions and maintaining its relevance in a rapidly changing world. His decision to support stripping Harry of his titles suggests he's chosen a path of decisive action rather than the traditional royal approach of avoiding confrontation and hoping scandals will blow over. The media coverage surrounding these events has been absolutely relentless, with outlets around the world following every twist and turn of this royal drama. Social media has amplified the pressure on all parties involved, making it virtually impossible to find a path toward reconciliation. The Sussex saga has become a global spectacle, with the monarchy's dirty laundry being aired for all to see. At its core, this situation represents a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions, a story of broken relationships, missed opportunities, and the corrosive effects of fame and fortune. Whether Harry can find a way to redeem himself remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The events of the past few years have irrevocably altered his place in the royal family and in the eyes of the British public. This unprecedented move to strip Harry of his titles serves as a stark reminder that even the most privileged individuals are not immune to the consequences of their actions. The weight of history and tradition can be a heavy burden to bear, especially for someone who has rejected those very traditions while still benefiting from them. Royal analysts point out that Harry's trajectory represents a cautionary tale about the dangers of trying to have it both ways. You simply cannot denounce an institution as archaic and harmful while simultaneously profiting from your connection to it. The British public, once sympathetic to Harry's desire for privacy and normalcy, has grown increasingly resentful of what they perceive as his hypocrisy and entitlement. The timing of this parliamentary action is particularly significant as it coincides with increasing scrutiny of the monarchy's relevance in modern Britain. With economic challenges affecting millions of citizens, questions about the cost and purpose of maintaining a royal family have grown louder. King Charles understands that for the monarchy to survive, it must demonstrate accountability and responsibility, even when that means taking painful action against his own son. Constitutional experts note that while Parliament technically has the power to remove royal titles, such action has rarely been considered, let alone implemented. The last comparable case was the 1917 Titles Deprivation Act, which stripped German royals of their British titles during World War I, a far different circumstance than the current situation with Harry. This unprecedented use of parliamentary power against a royal born into the family represents a fundamental shift in the relationship between the monarchy and the legislative branch. The implications for Meghan Markle are equally severe. As Harry's wife, her Duchess of Sussex title is directly tied to his duke status. If Parliament strips Harry of his dukedom, Meghan would presumably lose her Duchess title as well, a devastating blow to her brand identity. Critics suggest this may explain her decision to remain in California during Harry's UK visit, avoiding the potential humiliation of arriving as a duchess and potentially leaving as a private citizen. Inside sources claim that Harry is devastated by his father's willingness to support these measures, having hoped until recently that some form of reconciliation might still be possible. The reality that Charles has apparently given up on their relationship in favor of protecting the institution has reportedly sent Harry into a spiral of anger and disbelief. For a man who has publicly spoken about the importance of family, This final rejection by his father represents the ultimate betrayal. As this extraordinary royal drama continues to unfold, one thing becomes increasingly clear. We are witnessing a pivotal moment in the history of the British monarchy. The institution stands at a crossroads, forced to adapt to modern expectations of accountability while maintaining its unique role in British society. How it navigates this crisis will shape its future for generations to come. For Harry, the road ahead looks increasingly bleak. Stripped of his titles, estranged from his family, and potentially facing financial difficulties if his commercial appeal diminishes, he finds himself in uncharted territory. A former prince trying to forge an identity beyond the royal framework that defined his entire existence. The question now is whether he can reinvent himself once again, or whether the weight of this final rejection will prove too heavy to bear. Ta-ta, and bye for now.